everybody, this is gonna be the hardest review for a patch that I ever do, probably mostly because real life is not doing too great, so I'm catching myself either flipping into toxic positivity mode or flipping into being overly negative. So filtering what is me and what is the game at the moment is a bit difficult, so if my review seems off, that's mostly why. Let's start from this. We're standing inside my bathroom because the first thing about this update is that itemization was on point. Like, I'm wearing the new banner, I'm standing in the bathtub. If we're gonna go to the store, there's alternative fashion outfits, and they look pretty fantastic. A lot of people are having a lot of fun with just what we can do with in-game objects, what we can do with store-bought stuff, what we can do with banners. Their clothing and object department has outdone themselves, and I so appreciate that we got a bathtub this time around and not like another living room. I so appreciate that we got a rifle. I so appreciate the battle axe. I so appreciate the slightly rubbery bat that you can get off the store. I appreciate the edgy aesthetics. I appreciate the whole banner vibe. So to begin with, the itemization of this patch is absolutely great. Second bit would be the story. In my opinion, it's not bad, but it could have been better. Effectively, what the story is, there was a Titaness that was the groundskeeper for the graveyard. She was very much into nature, while majority of Titans were very much into building mechanical machines and exploiting nature. So she was a bit of an outcast and lived in the graveyard. Apparently was great with invention. There was a small/big issue with miasma seeping in absolutely everywhere, so she worked on the issue by inventing creatures that through living and breathing can filter out said miasma. Her great magnum opus, her life's work, was making what looked like to be a human girl. She was also super into fairy tales, so she named the human girl Little Red Riding Hood. Probably because the girl was human-sized, she's more equivalent to a Nikki than she is to a Titan. Titans were presumably a lot taller than humans. At some point, she takes in an outcast Titan called Nikos. Nikos was not very good with his craft, hence he got outcasted. Seeing that she was great at inventions and at using living biomass, Nikos has decided to take her inventions for himself. So he poisons her, and he tries to reintroduce himself to her inventions as their original inventor, effectively. And the Little Red Riding Hood disagrees. She does not go along with it and becomes outcasted somewhere over here. Presumably, Nikos uses these great accomplishments in order to make himself look useful to the king and rejoins the Titan society at some point, from what I can piece together from his life. Now, he didn't really need the rest of the inventions, so the idea was that after all of their inventions work was done, they should host a party. In the whole story, it's presented as a funeral, so a social gathering, a social event that starts after all of the actions that he wants them to do is over, and during that funeral, they should all die. So effectively, he constructed a social event in which the inventions, which he no longer has any point or use for, self-destruct. So the problem of having to take care of things that are no longer useful for you go away. He gets to take in all of the accomplishments, look presentable, get hired by the regular society, and the Titaness that lived in the graveyard, well, she's poisoned, so she's dead. So that's fine. What he didn't account for is the fact that the little Red Riding Hood managed to start a time loop.
Good morning, Nikki. Your look today is on.
She would break into and destroy the last event at all times in this time loop. She would do that over and over and over again. But no matter how many times she tried to stop the last event, which causes everybody in this time loop to effectively die off, she couldn't. She tried making sure that the funeral doesn't have the main participant. She tried to do everything that she could in order to make sure that the participant doesn't die. She tried getting into her mother's laboratory to see if there's anything of use there. Over time, this loop ran thousands and thousands of times, always ending the same way. The loop shortened and shortened and shortened. Nikki enters the loop in its effectively 3 last runs. And she solves the whole situation, even though the whole situation, to her, is presented through an abstract. Because once again, this Titaness, she loved fairy tales, so Little Red Riding Hood tries to portray the situation that is currently occurring to Nikki through several fairy tales. She tried pulling in multiple people into the loop to help her solve the loop before, but none of them could quite comprehend the situation and would go with the loop, encouraging the negative outcome at the end. So seeing that they would be no use, Little Red Riding Hood would just kind of eject them from the loop. Now, the story setup was quite difficult for people to follow because you're not presented the story this way. You are presented the story through tidbits of fairy tales that you know, but told differently. Because once again, Nikki is figuring out the actual situation through an abstract. So people found that a bit hard to follow. Following for me was completely fine, honestly. My main issue is that Little Red Riding Hood plays a very pivotal role in this whole story. And she's really the character that should be solving the whole loop. Instead, Nikki comes in at the last second, and she's not standing alongside this character. She takes this character's place to effectively solve the loop. You could say that they sort of merged into one person for a time being while the game displayed Nikki's banner outfit. So you could technically say that the spirit of the character is with Nikki during the final event, but I think it would have been better done if the person whose story this was, which was the Little Red Riding Hood, played a much larger role in her own story, which is the ability to fight alongside Nikki. Now, in this loop that we observe, she has the ability to transform into that behemoth wolf. It honestly wouldn't have been so outrageous because Nikki gets to try out the banner during the last boss fight anyway. It wouldn't have been so outrageous if they just made the wolf from the banner as the Little Red Riding Hood that's fighting alongside you, because once again, you're gonna be fighting with the wolf at that point anyway. But no, instead it's this weird scene where she collides into you, and then the banner happens, and then you're just fighting like the end's big bad as just, well, Nikki. after you're done with the story, everyone's glazing you. Like, oh, Nikki, she's so great. She's so fantastic. We couldn't have done this without Nikki. Nikki is absolutely amazing. They throw like a whole party for you. There's several side quests where everyone's practically like kissing your hands and feet. And that really like takes away from the whole thing for me. The stories that I was most invested in this game is the stories in which Nikki, yes, participates, but she's not being like glazed up and down as like the best thing on earth. So I loved the setup. I think that the finale of the story could have been told better. But that is my personal preference. Now let's move on to mini games, which is precisely why I'm standing in here. There's one that's like a tiny puzzle of just place mirrors to reflect light onto bad guys, and it's like a top-down view. That one's pretty easy. We have several levels of this, which is reach the end, but also you can find chests between where you are currently and where the end is, and there's like multiple different mechanics, mostly to do with this. During the story dungeon, you learn that you can like pull these things towards you in order to give yourself more light and more visibility. The second time I was doing like the first level for this, the next thing that you learn is that sometimes you want the light to not be on you, because the light being not on you can actually keep certain walls revealed and around. And I think that that was like a very fun little mechanic. Now, the thing that Infinity Nikki does fairly good outside of the whole dress-up aspect, and the thing that's, I want to say, very vanilla feeling about this whole patch is this. Like this. Like what I'm used to from Nikki, effectively, is like little jumpy puzzles, is little exploration-y levels like this. This is very vanilla Nikki. This is very the Nikki that I knew from 1.0. And honestly, so as far as like mini games go in this patch cycle, I approve. Next up, styling battles are actually back in this shape that you can re-battle the whole Sovereign of Sexy saga, except that this time it is a lot harder. And when I say a lot harder, I mean if I go to my Eureka screen and just, I don't know, click to upgrade the random Eureka, I'm only on 200,000 monies because I may have been pushing every single little millimeter of Eureka worth damage that I could in order to try and pass this. And honestly, this is part of the game that I do enjoy. I want there to be more challenge things. This is what I remember from early Wishfield's Nikki. This is when stats on your outfits mattered, and you didn't just have like a million sexy outfits already like ready to go to a point where you're just redoing Mira Crown on auto every single week, and that's that. It's a part of the game that has just completely fell off the longer we went along. And it's a part of the game that's very hard to find these days, so I appreciate that, but what I don't appreciate is this screen. You know what this screen is? This screen is to do with building. And this screen is mandatory if you want to rebattle all of the previous companions. I have squozed every single stat boost. I have squozed every single Eureka upgrade, every single glow up that I could have done What I need to do now is dependent on mushrooms and building. And this is something that turns one of the best things of this update for me into one of the worst. Look at how close I'm getting. This is the closest that I can do without a very intense construction grind. Let's go to the construction and let's talk about it. Hello, welcome to Snail Hell. Remember running 2 businesses from literally last patch? Wanna run 2 more? Now mind you, previous businesses were a bit more hands-off, I would say, than the current ones are. You need to run the Snail Hell in order to get currency to upgrade your newest stylist training place. So, you get currency from the snails, you put the currency from the snails over here. It allows you to recruit companions. You also want to practice companions and make them gain XP. And a whole bunch of different XP gains will be set on different amounts of hours / minutes that they're gonna take. And these companions with improved XP is the thing that gives you stat boosts during styling battles. I like styling. I did not want the grind your buildings component to my styling. Eureka's and outfits were good enough. You have an intricate tag system you can add to the tags. We do not need this. I only need to beat 3 more dudes. So this is gonna be super annoying. But the moment I'm done beating the 3 extra challenges, I'm dropping this like it's hot and I'm leaving it alone. I don't enjoy the running business aspect of updates that they keep on trying to force into Nikki. Nikki is not a business simulator from Temu. Nikki is a dress-up game. And I think that adding all of these elements and making things overly complicated completely loses the point of Nikki being a dress-up game. This is not open world fun. This is not dress-up fun. This is not puzzly and exploration-y fun, which I'm used to from Nikki. This is grinding deliveries, building businesses, getting the right companions to give you stat boosts. I don't know what it is as a game, but it is definitely not Infinity Nikki. I went on a rant and my hood tried to run away off my head, and I did not appreciate that, so I stopped recording. And now I'm continuing. I'm gonna grind it a little bit in order to get done what I need to get done, but I'm just saying that this isn't Nikki to me. This isn't enjoyable, this isn't fun, and it just detracts from my personal patch experience. Trying to go through everything in my head, I think that the only other new feature that we haven't discussed outside of some quality of life upgrades, for example, you can now post 100 screenshots in the open world instead of 50, and that is greatly appreciated. Instead of quality of life stuff like this, Momo can now join you on battles. I had seen some people complain that the quest to get Momo to join on battles is rather lackluster, which, well, I agree. You just kinda go to the Sea of Stars and you find a luggage and it can only be opened by Momo, and in there Momo finds a battle cloak with a note of effectively like, with this you can now fight, okay, thanks, bye. That was like the end of the quest. You also have a bit of a thing to do in order to upgrade Momo, and I know that Momo upgrading is somewhere around, but I forgot the button to do it. Could this mean that this game has too many functionalities and buttons? Yes, found it. Momo growth. You know how you're capped on 100 experience of any sort a day? So like, if you do 100 gathers, that's it, no more gathering experience for you. If you do 100 fights, that's it, no more fight experience for you. Momo's the same way, except that his skill tree is a bit less grindy. A lot of these parts of Momo are like costing 50 XP. The bigger ones cost 300 XP, and upgrading Momo's cloak was like 100, so if he's capped at 100 per day, this probably takes roughly a patch to complete. This is probably just like time filler. You don't particularly need to upgrade Momo if you don't want to. I'm fine with it. It's not whatever kind of snail salon dispatch styling apprentices that we're doing in a different part of the game. I'm fine with this. It's the different part of the game that's more irritating to me. So, to sum up my whole experience with the patch, there are parts of it that really like remind me of the core vanilla 1.0 Nikki experience that I fell in love with. I loved the fact that I had to sweat a little over getting over the styling duels. The fact that I almost ran out of coins, blings in the game entirely, upgrading my Eurekas in order to try and like score that a bit more score. That's very vanilla feeling. I love the fact that the vibes of this update are great. Their artists are on point. They obviously know the kind of things that people want. There's a lot of alternative outfits on the store right now. We didn't just get like a toy sword. We got so many weapons. And women apparently are super into weapons. Those parts like super on point. The vibes are on point. The whole platforming mini-game I highly approve of. Once again, very 1.0 vanilla Nikki feel. Whatever this is, like, this whole grindy, buildy, dispatchy thing, that's not Nikki to me. That brings the patch down. And of course, there's the fact that I'm playing through a patch, and I can see the fact that people are super happy about it online, but like, mentally I'm not in a good place. So I'm like, how do I balance this? I think I'm being fair if I give it like a B. I think it would be fair to give this patch a B. If I was to find like extra good things, it lasts for 27 days, which is a lot more normal than the 23 that we got the previous patch. What the fuck, that was a bit too short. No complaints there. There are a lot of good things about it. If you want to play through a filler patch, I say go ahead and do it. It's kind of a little bit of fun. The story doesn't take too long. It's like an hour or two. I probably have streamed it on Monday by the time that I'm releasing this, because I am planning to do so. If I haven't, then look forward to that stream in like the next Monday or two. But like, hopefully everything went right and I streamed it and we had a lot of fun on my secondary account, because it's just a bit of harmless filler patchy fun. Majority of what brings it down to me, outside of some interesting story choices, is just this. And this would be my opinion on my review of patch of 2.4 for Infinity Nikki. So, how do you guys feel about the patch? Was it a fun experience? Was it not a fun experience? How's the game going for you in general? Next patch is supposed to be a major patch. We're supposed to be getting story again during 2.5. Ooh, the last time this happened, the last time a major patch happened between 1.0 and 2.0 was at 1.5, and that was... yeah, so fingers crossed that the world doesn't fall apart. We can handle everything but that again. So hopefully, I'm hoping is gonna go well, because for a filler patch, this is alright. This is okay. This is a bit of fun. But you know that it is the big patches that attract people, and it is the big patches that people come back for, and we don't have a good track record with the patches that go X.5 effectively. So here's my fingers crossed that 2.5 is a good patch. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for my Patreon supporters, and I hope I'll get to see you the next time. Toodaloo.